How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Winners Club podcast. In today's episode, we will be talking about human evolution and the importance of dieting. Now, you can find our socials. We are on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram at official_the Winners Club. And you may also find our video and audio version of this podcast. For video, we have our YouTube at the Winners Club podcast, and you can find our audio versions. We are located on Buzzsprout, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts at the Winners Club podcast. Now, we greatly appreciate all the love and support you have all been showing recently, and we hope you all have a better week and a good day.
Alright, fellas. So today, we want to talk about human evolution. Alright? So, I want to ask you guys, what do you guys think about, it's kind of two random topics, but the evolution of diet in America, in the world, and media. How do you think those affects humans now?
Well, I'm going to start off with diet. So I definitely think in today's world, so much stuff is like unhealthy. And, you've seen the obesity rate has, spiked, over the years. And, if you go back and you look at all these, I'm talking like way, way back, like the Greeks and stuff, like they were huge, they were ripped, because back then there wasn't all these unhealthy, artificial stuff that we have now. Everything back then was natural.
I know, and that's something I want to even say. Look at our parents' generations. Most of the
that
people
too,
in those
yeah.
ages, like if you go back, I'll give an example. If you go back and look at I don't know if you've ever seen pictures of your parents in high school, college, or whatever, when they're in their 20s. They did not. All those people during that timeline were not as obese as they are currently. I saw a Joe Rogan podcast, and he talked about kind of the fertilization that farmers now use. It's all artificially enhanced. There is very minuscule natural things that are even grown by farmers. You know what I mean? So that's just one thing. I mean, think about how all these big companies get their food is through farms. Well, if these farms are kind of artificially enhanced, that's going to catch up. Do you know what I mean? I totally agree with you. I think obesity rates are going to continue to skyrocket. I think it's a huge thing where I think a lot of people are also going to be frequently dying of heart attacks, strokes, other diseases. It's all just because we're living artificially with our diets. Brett, what do you think about this?
So, I mean, obviously back in the day, the whole supersize me, remember that whole video of, just how McDonald's had that, like the supersize thing, and all these fast food. It's quick and fast food, but it's not good for your body. It's way better to just go to a grocery store and get like vegetables, fruit,
Whole
make your own
Foods.
stuff. Whole Foods.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I don't think the media helps with that, though. It's more so quick. Like, it's kind of like something you could see. I'm just trying to relate this to like business, like the get rich quick. It's not, but it's more so get food quick. So you got a lot of people.
Exactly. DoorDash, Instacart,
Uber Eats.
Even. Uber Eats. So I wanted to tie
all that shit.
Exactly. So I wanted to tie in how kind of these quick and easy foods are also being advertised through media. Do you know what I mean? If you see a commercial or an ad on TikTok of this big juicy new burger that came out at Wendy's, well, that's just another quick way where kind of you're being taken advantage of because your brain kind of sees that, and now it's also subconsciously relating that burger as kind of fulfilling your need of hunger in the moment. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like you see a burger, then you get hungry. You subconsciously are looking at that burger will provide you nutritional value, even though obviously it does not. That's how our brains are kind of aging as time goes on with this new epidemic of media and poor diet choices.
Yeah, no, ads, well, these big companies are so good at advertising too, like making sure like the burger looks good, like everything's like very like actually, because what are people attracted to, stuff that kind of stands out to you. So like, for example, like a lot of unhealthy stuff, like I'm going to use Fairlife as an example, right? It says 40 grams of protein, that's all people care about, right? But they don't look at all the other stuff that's that's not healthy for them, you know what I mean? And stuff like that. That's the way they advertise it.
We gotta put everybody onto this app called Yuka.
I was just about to mention that. Yeah.
It truly does wonders for you, and it really was an eye-opening app. So I highly suggest it. And I want to also tie in your point, Miles. I don't know if you guys ever seen those videos where they kind of expose marketing for like McDonald's and other companies. You see how they market food, and it's so like for pizza, companies will literally put in their commercials like a piece of pizza with glue on the edges, so when you pull out,
I've seen
straight,
that.
you know what I mean?
It's like because in
And
reality, it doesn't actually do that. Yeah,
exactly. It's so rare to even get something as fresh as that as they advertise it. You know what I mean?
Same
So
burgers are the same way. Yeah,
exactly. It's just a way of just tying in consumers over and over and over again. But this is a trend that has only been increasing. Do you know what I mean? There are only more fast food places being produced now. It's not like it's steady or declining. It's skyrocketing. It's getting very alarming, and I think people don't necessarily understand that they are product of kind of the government in that sense, because the government is regulating all of these things because guess what? It's the cheapest and easiest for them. Do you know what I mean? So obviously they're going to try to take the easy way out. It's in human nature, and the government is made by a group of humans, a legislative government. So it's interesting. You know what I mean?
Right. They're only gonna do what's bringing them more money at the end of the day too, and they realize how like once you look at it as a whole, they also realize how stupid society is now. Because society as a whole, when they look at these cheap options and stuff, like you said before, the easy options in life, they're obviously gonna take the easy way out. Nobody wants to go to the grocery store and actually buy healthy stuff. So once again, once you propose these new and easy ideas, these very unhealthy ideas, but people don't really care about the unhealthy part. They just care that it's easy and it's easy to obtain and it's fast. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's right there. It's already prepared for them.
The human mind is conditioned to take the least path of resistance. Especially generation after generation. Do you know what I mean? I feel like our generation currently, up until the point of the generation below us now, was the weakest, and it's only getting weaker. It's like we are not even able to live in the state of free nature anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think we are so low. If we take away everything we've ever created, man-made creation, we would be at the bottom of the food chart, 100%. I firmly believe that, because I mean, some people can't even like withstand. I don't even know, like strokes, heart attacks, like all these diseases that you could track just for your diet. But also people can't even step outside without a winter coat when it's like 30 degrees. Do you know what I mean? I see it all the time. And I just think of this like, oh, well, if we never had man-made civilization, we would be much stronger. I mean, there's pros and cons to both of it, but I don't know. It's just interesting. A dog one-on-one would kill a man. Typically, a chimp is totally ripping a human to shreds.
Yeah,
it's just we're like these like little stick figures that walk around with like a big brain that goes around with a bunch of different things that we've created mankind. But I really believe we are only digging ourselves in a deeper pit as time will go on. I know there's a report or something like that. I don't know if you guys follow Neil deGrasse Tyson at all. He said that. Yeah, well, he says some interesting stuff that I like to think about, but it kind of goes with human evolution. But he said something, obviously, where we're a couple 100,000 billion years away from Earth going extinct. Humankind will be extinct, but way before then, 100%. With the rate that we're on, we're developing technology to solve past technological problems. So it's only going to keep going up on the scale until, guess what? We just blow each other up, and that's what's going to happen in nuclear war, in my opinion. That's way outside of the point, though. But I'm just saying, the human evolution aspect, what is to say that things are going to get better? I don't see it.
Especially with like the whole AI stuff now, like robots are replacing humans at this point.
It is scary.
It's scary to think about, but like it's true. Like Amazon, for example, I'm pretty sure I saw something where it was like Amazon, like a bunch of people got laid off because everything's like AI now in like the warehouses and stuff. So like I mean like simple stuff like that, but it's going to continue to grow. Even like self-driving cars, and just other stuff like that.
Like blue collar jobs even are going to be replaced by AIs
exactly
in the future.
Eventually.
Like any kind of man labor is going to be replaced,
which is making us lazier and lazier.
Exactly. It's making humans nature because now we're building things to alleviate us from day-to-day tasks.
Mm-hmm.
So
Which is increasing obesity and increasing laziness. Like it all falls in the line, but people don't realize it.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys see Tesla. Tesla started just making a bunch of robots recently too, and also ChatGPT, which is an AI software that you can literally just pull up on your phone. It literally passed the medical exam and the bar exam. So,
oh yeah, no, I know about that. Like kids use it now to like cheat on exams and stuff. Like you could put in literally any question in the world into the bar, and then once you hit search or enter or whatever, it like gives you the answer. Like I was
Wait, yo, what app is this? Just
it's called like Chat AI.
Chat GTP. But
asking for a friend.
Of course.
But I was using it and like literally any question you want, bro. It spits it right back out at you. It's insane.
Yeah. It's like check.
But that's also making us stupider because we're not like
100%.
It makes us not want to learn stuff on our own. Like, I'm just gonna cheat my way through this. I'm just gonna, cheat my way through that. That's another thing I wanted to talk about. Is not only are we getting lazier and obesity's rising, we're getting stupider at the same time. If you think about it.
How would you state stupider? You know what I mean? How would you state that? Lazier? Like same thing, like being more lethargic? Because I agree in that sense, but what?
So I would say like stupid as in like but like it's more of an effect off laziness, I guess you can say, because like for example, like you're too lazy to go learn something, which is making you stupid. So that's what I'm trying to say, in a sense.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay. It's kind of what I was thinking then. So people are.
It's like a cause and effect thing.
I think what it is, people are avoiding any sort of friction where they have to kind of. It's not like you're not going to sweat, but it's kind of that same sense where you feel tension in your body, where you release sweat, you release something that signifies you had to work for that. And I feel like that's just so against human nature now. And it's very scary because these generations. Look, all right, I'll pull up another example from this Joe Rogan podcast that I watched. It goes with parenting now too. Do you know what I mean? Kids who are just lazy, don't really want to go to school. Their parents don't even want to deal with it. They just give them more things, more anecdotes to follow that. Look at a kid throwing a fit on an airplane. This is from the Joe Rogan episode I just mentioned. There were the oldest. There was 3 kids. The oldest child was 8, and then it was 6 and a 3-year-old. They all had iPads. All iPads, sitting on first class. Their parents were on the other side of the plane. They were all just given iPads, and the flight attendant walked by them and asked them if they wanted any drinks because Joe Rogan was sitting next to them. And they said 3 Cokes at 8, 6, and 3 years old. That is absurd. That is very scary. At that age to be consuming that. And that's our future. That's our future generation. And that's normalized. It's scary.
I didn't even have soda that young, but go ahead.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but at the same time, too, though, their brains are being so consumed with nothingness on those tablets. It's not like they're reading. It's not like they're doing anything else.
Right, they're watching YouTube.
It's just nonsense. It's entertainment, and that is where life is headed. And if you guys have ever watched WALL-E, you know that movie WALL-E? Remember that one scene where it was a bunch, it was very futuristic, but it was a bunch of obese people sitting in chairs and monitors just floating around.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember that scene.
Okay, all right. Well, you're not a true Disney fan then, I guess.
Sorry, my fault. My fault.
Childhood. I used to watch all Disney movies, but I'm saying there was a specific scene where I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a possibility. That's a real possibility, man. And 100 years from now, it's very concerning. Very concerning. And I was watching you guys know Andrew Huberman? I know Brett knows him. So he's a neuroscientist, and he was kind of observing how much, or the standard for human living. He said if you are sleeping 7 to 8 hours uninterrupted sleep, that is very healthy for you. I can't even imagine like the amount of miscued sleep schedules now for these kids. It's unbelievable. That's another thing.
Sleep.
Sleep.
Go to bed at 3 a.m, wake up at like I don't even know, like for example, like if they have school the next day, go to bed at 3 in the morning, wake up at 6 a.m. That's 3 hours of sleep, bro.
And then take a nap when you get home. So now
and then take a nap when you get home. Even worse, when they wake up, they either drink a Red Bull, a Monster, or any form of energy drink.
Caffeinated
a coffee anything. That's like loaded with sugars and all that artificial stuff. It's insane. Like that's not like okay. Like if you have an energy drink like once, every once in a while, that's okay. But like every single morning off of 3 hours of sleep, like that's not going to help you out, throughout the day.
So Brett, I want to also hear your intake on this. What do you think, in terms of like people overthinking nowadays from media and abusing it all day? Because the average screen time for a young adult in America is 11 hours. The average, 11 hours. That is your entire day. That is your entire day. So do you think people because I think with my opinion at least, people are not sleeping enough because they don't give themselves a brain break is what I call it. You know what I mean? Time to 100%. Think. So at night, it kind of hits you all. What do you think about that?
Well, coming from personal experience, I was a big overthinker. Like
me too.
Probably until like recently, I don't overthink that much anymore, just because I know that I'm gonna do what I say I'm gonna do. So typically, let's say I have homework to do, I also want to interrupt you because I know you just talked to me about practicing mindfulness, and that's something I think that's really important. So I know you practice that. Do you think that also can impact, your kind of just giving your brain a break? You know what I mean? 100%. I do it like literally this morning. Just woke up, got out of my bed, didn't like check my phone or scroll through TikTok or anything. Literally went, sat there for 5 minutes, no phone or anything, and just listen. And I just think engaging in your consciousness and just being in the moment is the best. And just obviously having positive thoughts. Even before I go to bed at night, I put my phone somewhere far away because I know I don't need my phone to be right next to me to wake up. I can just have it somewhere far away. I'll get up because I know I'm going to get up. But anyway, I close my eyes and I just like sort of like relax my body and just run these positive thoughts through my mind, and that sort of gets me to fall asleep. And that's what I think. If people practice mindfulness, I only see benefits, and doing this research that I'm doing, I only see health benefits from it.
Exactly, 100%. And we'll talk more about this in the following episode that will be posted this Sunday. But I really, that's my, I guess, main concern too for why people are not sleeping enough is because they don't give themselves a brain break. And that's very scary when people are now even falling asleep to literal, like, YouTube videos, TikTok videos. There's so many times where people fall asleep with their phone even just being on. And that, like, circuits your brain the entire time you're unconscious. Do you know what I mean? You're actually going to be, you're more likely to dream about whatever videos you're listening to when you're asleep than not. Do you know what I mean? Because it's still being cycled through your brain. You're still listening. It's not like you could turn your ears off. It's just feeding into your subconscious. But it's nothingness. Do you know what I mean? It's not like you're giving yourself time to discover yourself, your true purpose, all these other things. And it's very scary because it's kind of at an alarming rate that people are falling into depression, falling into all these other things. Well, sleep is a really big part of that. You need sleep to function. You know what I mean?
You need right sleep too. Not I'm gonna sit in bed on my phone for an hour on my phone and then go to sleep. No, you need to immediately cut out your phone. I'm doing one thing, which is I'm going to bed. That's it. Not on my phone in my bed. You're overcomplicating the idea of sleep, and it's just
100%. And I also think developing a healthy night routine, like you mentioned earlier, Brett. That's one way where you can begin to develop some kind of healthier sleep system. We talk about systems. Systems are a huge part of anything in life, including yourself. Do you know what I mean? So establishing a healthy sleeping system, you will immediately see benefit in your kind of mental state of mind. And another thing to go about that, this whole notion now, because I'm going to bring up a huge thing that I don't think a lot of people are even educated about, is the kind of consumption of a drug to kind of pull yourself out of a depression. It's false. It is 100% false. Andrew Huberman has said this. People do not need medication for a kind of brain malfunctioning or some kind of fluid in your brain's leaking into another where there's some kind of like misconception going on. It's bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's just because of the way society has kind of morphed into itself is why people fall into a depression, and then they look to spend a bunch of money on these artificial drugs that do nothing. They do absolutely nothing. If anything, they increase the likelihood of more health risks. Do you know what I mean? What do you guys think about that?
I mean, yeah, no, I agree because once you keep doing like using the drug, you get dependent on it, and which is, if you think about it, if you get off the drug, where's that going to get you? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think there's such thing as, oh, once I get off of it, I'm going to be fine. Well, you've been so dependent on it, so when you're off of it, it's going to spike right back up. You know what I mean? I think over time, and it's the way you go about treating your depression. You know what I mean? Like, there's other ways to do it. There's other ways like practicing mindfulness and doing other positive things. Eating right,
kind of exercising, things,
staying fit, and that doesn't necessarily mean always going to the gym. That could mean going for a walk. Go walk your dog. Go for a run. Do jumping jacks in your living room. An exercise. I think a lot of people don't like. There's other ways to stay fit. You know what I mean? But back to what I was saying before, there's ways to practice positive things, very healthy things. Without taking a pill that a doctor prescribed to you. So. That's my personal thoughts.
I want to interrupt you real quick, and then, Brett, I want to ask you this. But did you guys know that 1 in 4 children in the U.S. take an antidepressant? 1 in 4. 1 in 4. That's absurd. That's
alarming.
Absurd. And it's our future. That is our future, and it's very scary. And I also think another issue why, obesity rates are skyrocketing and why heart attack rates are skyrocketing is because nobody practices cardiovascular endurance. You need to exercise so you have a healthier heart to decrease the likelihood of having a heart attack, having a stroke. I also researched, Brett, you mentioned earlier, about ways where we can kind of practice mindfulness. I've seen a lot of benefits of people meditate in a sauna. It actually lowers your rate of a stroke by 60%, heart attack 40%, and it's all just because you're just sweating. Do you know what I mean? It is a way where you can just be stationary and still benefit your heart. So I just thought that was really fascinating. But Brett, what would you say about kind of this whole notion of antidepressants now?
I think it's really sad, especially how easy to access they can be. But I do see a couple of it's protected a couple way before it used to be early 2000s used to be terrible. You could go anywhere and find them, but now I like how it's a little harder to access anyway. But I think to that, sort of my analogy with that is sort of, I need caffeine to go to the gym or sort of just get that workout. It's like you're tying a substance in to
an action.
To an action. You don't need that. And I like this quote that Jocko
Willink. I know exactly what you're talking about.
That he said is, we don't get energy, we create energy. And
100%.
That's very interesting and sort of shifts your perspective as well. So,
speaking about energy, there's a lot of people who kind of, I feel like, complain about being tired often. I think part of that is through diet, and we talked about this earlier, and I think that's another reason why people kind of fall into a depression. Because think about it, if you were to inhale, what are those kind of like those gasoline tanks that people used to snort and smell, and it would give them like a high? Not helium. It was something. It was something of that descent.
That's called something too. That's called Whip It. That's just literally you're breathing CO2 in. It's
yeah,
stupid.
You're breathing in.
Fumes. Yeah. Mm.
It's the same thing when you're eating things. You know what I mean? It's the same kind of thing. So I just think people with these new diets kind of veer away from fat, and that's something that you need to function. Fat is what gives you energy. So when somebody sees kind of oh, I can't eat this because it has too much fat, that's really bad. Because I mean, look at all the other things like Miles talked about earlier with Fairlife and stuff like that. People will be very concerned with the label of high levels of fat, but don't look into anything else. You know what I mean? It's like we just depict one thing and then just declare it right then and there in our brains and our subconscious that too much of that, can't have it. Little of this, okay, I can have it. And you just totally disregard everything else. You know what I mean? Like, people even now cook in canola oil. We talked about this before, but canola oil is very, very bad for you. There's a whole list of the things that it does to you that we've already discussed. Plethora, actually. But that's a seed oil. And seed oil is artificially enhanced. It's an extract. Okay? That's not good. I would rather use kind of like beef fat. Beef fat is natural. Our ancestors have used it. That's what everybody was accustomed to, and we veered away from that to artificially enhanced things. That's just one thing. Cooking oil. You know what I mean? That's just one thing that we consume on a daily basis that kind of messes with our brains a little. And people are so quick to go out and look for something to cross cancel everything, but that's not how life works. It will not ever work like that. You have to understand, kind of think of it like I can't think of the name of it. Just think of it as like a diagram, like a circle. And you know how like a circle has all these other things, or even just like a pie chart. Think of it like a pie chart. You are your pie chart. It's not a whole, you know what I mean? It's not one whole thing where, okay, you take it and then boom, everything's gone. There's little parts where you have to always kind of manipulate and play around with to understand diet, sleep, mindfulness. These are all just little things that we all do. There's many more. It's interesting, though, how kind of I feel like this has really impacted society. What would you guys think of that? I think generations below us are kind of...
They're in danger, in my opinion. Well, all the stuff 100%. That's going around, they are 100% in danger. 1,000% in danger. And I think we can sit here and preach about this all we want to, but it's still up to us as a generation above them to still kind of educate them about it. You know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of people aren't doing that because they're falling into the the pit of where all these kids are. The artificial stuff, the fast and easy stuff. So it's unfortunate, but I think it takes people like us to really get people out of that pit. So
definitely.
It comes with short-term thinking too. They're not thinking about the long term. They're just thinking about the short term. Oh, what can I do now? It's like when you're driving down the street and you see a Wendy's, you're like, oh, let's go get Wendy's. Rather, if I thought long term, maybe I have food at home. Why don't I just cook a meal?
Right.
I'm getting out this healthy in time. So.
Well, another thing that these fast food industries do is that they enhance their foods with chemicals that will make you even hungrier. Do you know what I mean? That's why when you're going to McDonald's, you're more likely to buy more food.
Same way. I don't know if you guys heard Doritos. They use a chemical in that where it makes you even more hungrier for Doritos. It's kind of strange. It's crazy.
So you eat a whole bag. Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like that idea. Oh, you can't have one chip. A lot of people joke around with that. Well, you literally can't because these companies are enhancing their product. It's just a way of manipulating society, and it's sad that people choose to market things that are actually very harmful for you. And that was kind of what I wanted to talk about with the government aspect of things, is that the government regulates this. The government knows that this is happening.
But do they care?
No.
They don't care.
It kind of takes away even though, like, in the sense of freedom. These people kind of don't even live with freedom on a day-to-day basis because they are, number one, regulated by some other power, which are just men conformed in a group. But they kind of grow up with these new norms and these new cultures through generation and generation and generation that are wicked harmful for them. And the government is not doing anything about it. You know what I mean? It's concerning to me, definitely. Anyways, though, I'm not a political ideologist. I don't know much about politics or anything like that.
Neither do I.
That was just something. But I want to ask you guys something about cultures. If you were to say this to a typical young adult, even I don't know, like a 10-year-old, change your diet or kind of look into other things, the culture around it and the stigma around it, you would be looked at as weird. You would be looked at as kind of you're judging the norm. It's interesting.
Not only that, but fat shaming too. Dude, that's like the immediate thought. That's the immediate thought. When you tell somebody to change their diet, they're gonna be like, "What, are you calling me fat?" Like, I'm like, "No, bro. Like, I'm not calling you fat. I mean, I'm telling you because I want you to be healthy." So.
Exactly. It messes with your your immune system. So many people are always complaining that they have a cold, that they're sick, that they have a headache. Headaches are actually a result of you lacking or overstimulating yourself with some kind of substance. It's that you don't just have a natural pain in your head from anything. Like you don't just develop that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like you don't just wake up with a broken arm. You have to get hit by something. You have to have something impact you to result into that.